Are you scared of someone punching you in the face?
Yes.
Would you be more scared if I grabbed onto your head like this?
And then punch me in the face?
Yeah.
100%.
If I taught you a technique, would you rather that technique be horrible but still something you can do, or would you rather just go based on instinct alone?
Horrible, but something I can do.
Okay, so you would rather
Wait.
you'd rather have
Wait.
like just the most asinine technique of all time.
Wait, but does it work?
That's what we're gonna find out. We're looking at hair grab techniques. It's important that I make clear, when I say self-defense techniques, I'm not talking about throwing a jab, cross, and a hook, and I'm not talking about her throwing a punch, and I jump out of the way, block, karate chop, and take her into a wrist lock. Those are more fighting techniques, or honestly, even choreography techniques. I'm talking about quickly learning moves that you can use in a real-life situation. In this case, we're talking about the danger of someone walking up to you and grabbing you by the hair.
Joke's on you, I'm into that.
So it's important that we know what to do in this situation. And in this case, it's important to know what not to do. Because while I was perusing the internet, as I often do, I came across a technique where someone grabbed onto someone's hair and they were taught to take the right hand and hammer fist at their attacker. Now look, I have no problem with the hammer fist. In fact, I love hammer fists. The problem is not with what they were doing, it's how they were doing it. First of all, if someone grabs onto you in any kind of way, you can't let them just have this control. If I let Tracy grab onto my beautiful, perfect hair, she's gonna take me wherever she feels like going. I have to get some semblance of control back. So instead of just coming here and immediately going the offensive, I'm gonna anchor her hand to me. Because equally, while she's trying to take control of me, if I can reverse the situation, now I have control of her. So if at any time someone grabs your hair or your collar or your neck, at the very least, try to secure control of it. Let's improve the technique nominally by saying the first thing you did was grab hold of the opponent's hand. From there, you can take your hand and start throwing hammer fists. That's fine, except Tracy is right in front of me in this situation. Why would I want to go up and down and circularly at her when it'd be much faster to just go straight at her? We can go back and forth on not training untrained people to throw punches because they're going to break their hand. Personally, if you're grabbing onto my hair and swinging me around, I would like to risk breaking my hand if that means you're going to let go of me. I don't think that's very likely if you just start throwing hammer fists. So I'm of the mind that in order to properly learn how to defend yourself, you have to properly learn how to offend someone else. Meaning you can't defend yourself from something you don't know how to do or don't understand how it works. So quickly, let's go over what a hair grab is actually doing. If I come up to Tracy and I grab her by the hair, unless I start pulling this thing, it's not really gonna hurt. And that's not really the point. The point of me grabbing onto Tracy is so I can move her around. She's either gonna come to me because I wanna take her somewhere else, or if I'm trying to hurt her, I'm gonna pull her into my strikes. And this is a good time to talk about something called proprioception, which is a very long, complicated word that means I wanna use this hand to help this hand. I have attached part of my body to her, so the rest of my body will know where she is. It's a very common, natural thing. So if I'm teaching Tracy self-defense techniques, and I come in here and I just idly grab her and say, go ahead, hammer fist me into oblivion, fist me, boom. She's learning to throw a technique, but she's not learning it in the proper context. Even if I just change the technique to where instead of going just here, I start adding a little bit of movement to where now she's off balance, that changes the way she's gonna move. So, again, it's important to understand that when you're teaching these techniques, you have to teach the proper context to the person that has to learn to defend themselves. Don't say, well, they grab your hair, you just hammer fist them. It's not that simple. Stop. So if we're here in this kind of neutral standing position, which, by the way, this leads me into a side tangent about why I hate these self-defense techniques, because if I'm close enough to grab onto Tracy's hair and she has any kind of idea that an attack might be coming, she shouldn't just be standing here twiddling her thumbs, right? You should be somewhat aware of your surroundings to where you understand when you might be in danger. So instead of being here flush, we're gonna get into what we call the relaxed guard, meaning she's gonna stagger her legs like that. It's better than just standing flat, because if I'm standing flat like this with my feet totally square, Tracy pushes me, boom, there I go. It's very easy to lose your balance if you're standing with your feet squared like this. So let's say Tracy is the worst at controlling distance. For some reason, she hasn't read that she's about to get attacked, but she has enough wherewithal to already be in a slightly staggered stance. Great, you're already doing much better. Step 2, I come in and grab, she secures the grip. At this point, she wants to take her neutral, relaxed guard stance and make it more dramatic. She can do this one of two ways. She can decide either to run away from the danger by taking a big step backwards, thereby off-balancing me, or she can decide to go balls to the wall and step towards me. Go ahead. Either way, she's regained her balance. So when I come in here to grab her, she secures the grip, and before I can start steering her around, she's already started fighting for balance back. Guys, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. It doesn't matter if you have the most powerful hammer fist of all time. If you're trying to throw it while you're being led to the ground, you're gonna meet the ground. So I would say we're doing pretty good. We understand that when someone grabs onto us, we need to maintain that connection with them. When they start trying to move us around, we need to get our feet back underneath us. That's already way better than just standing here and rock'em sock'em roboting, right? But let's throw this technique another bone. Let's say I've got control of Tracy. She's holding on to me to make sure I don't just drag her around. She's got her feet underneath her, but for whatever reason, she still wants to throw hammer fists. So from this position, she can start trying to throw her hammer fist. Go ahead. Boom, boom, boom. That's fine. It's not the worst option in the world, but I think there's plenty of other options. Like I said earlier, actually, hold on. I want to make sure she doesn't break my face. Like I said earlier, a straight punch is always going to be better than a rounded punch, at least in this scenario. And even if Tracy's here, hunched over, it still makes more sense to go straight like this than it does to wheel up and down. You're just more likely to find your target if you go right to where it is, rather than making detours in other directions. Now, the one thing I will say in favor of this technique is that when you're not a trained fighter or a trained martial artist, throwing straight punches under stress is very difficult. So you'll probably default to doing one kind of swing. Better still, especially in this position, is using the momentum that she can generate from her hips to, instead of throwing a downward hammer fist or a straight jab, she instead throws an uppercut. Boom. If she drives her weight into that strike there, that's way better and something she can actually do from this position, rather than just swinging her arm isolated at the shoulder, or depending on her jab or her cross, whatever, to be what carries her out of here. There's something else about this that we need to address. Because fundamentally, what is the difference between me grabbing you here and me grabbing you here? And what does this look really similar to? Yeah, clinching, right? So let's take this out of a self-defense context and put it in a martial arts context. Trace, if I go like this, what do you want to do? Same thing, right? And then if someone's got control of our neck in a martial arts context, we want to try and take control either by going on the outside or on the inside. In this case, we're going to go for the outside control here. Now, Tracy, let me get you around here. What about instead realizing that from this angle, you have an elbow? Boom. Yes, good, perfect. I think if you want to throw a hammer fist, what you're really saying is you want to throw a long-range elbow. Because there's no angle that you can throw with an elbow that you can't also throw with a hammer fist. So the cool thing about elbows is, if you understand how they work, you can throw them from this position. You can throw the up elbow, rounded elbow, downward elbow, a spike elbow if you're that kind of person, whatever you want. As long as you understand how to throw them, this is the perfect opportunity to throw them. And to throw this technique another bone, if you do manage to land, let's say you land a super perfect round elbow. Go ahead. You can totally bounce into a hammer fist. Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, have at it. But look at all the work Tracy had to do to get to that position. First, she had to understand what I was doing by grabbing her hair. I'm not just grabbing to hang out here. I'm trying to move her around. So before I get to do that, she secures control like this, and she makes sure she has a base underneath her. Then she takes the fight to me by either pulling me to her step back, like this, or by rushing towards me. And while she does that, she's throwing elbows. Then she can throw a hammer fist down over and over and over again, whatever she wants. At that point, she can start throwing hammer fists. But she can't do it from here. So to wrap up, you guys, I think it's important that we understand how violence actually works. Yes, we all want there to be a magic button where you just hammer fist somebody in the head and they go away. But that's just not the case. Because if that was the case, people will be dying left and right in every single martial arts gym. And if you're going to sell something like women's self-defense, you have to sell them something they can actually do in a real-world scenario. As always, this has been Rob and Tracy from Combat Self-Defense. If you're looking to support the channel, there's a description box down there at the bottom with a whole bunch of links to gear, Combat Self-Defense apparel, and all kinds of other things to help grow the channel. I want to thank you guys for all the hard work. Thank you for the hard work yet to be done, and I'll see you next time.